Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the information session for the health law programs at the Georgetown University Law Center. My name is Sarah Bosha. I'm director of the health law programs, and I'm here with colleagues who are going to share with you a little bit of information to help you think about whether this is the right fit for you and give you information about how to apply and the student experience. So I'm just going to start with a brief overview of the programs that we offer here at Georgetown. We have two flagship programs, the LL.M in National and Global Health Law and the LL.M in Global Health Law and Governance. Most of our students also like to take certificates alongside the two degree programs, and these are some of the popular certificates listed here that we have available that you can take in conjunction with your main LL.M program. So just a little bit more information. The LL.M on National and Global Health Law is exclusively in DC. That means that you spend both the fall and spring semester in Washington, DC. While you are studying for this particular program, you have the opportunity to work as an RA, and you can also apply for externships. Some of our students have been able to apply for externships at places like the World Bank and the American Bar Association and the Food and Drug Law Institute. The LL.M in Global Health Law and International Governance is offered in conjunction with the Graduate Institute in Geneva. So for that particular program, it is 1 year in duration. You spend the fall semester in Washington, DC with the rest of your cohort members. And again, you have the opportunity to work as an RA during that time or a research associate assistant during that time. And then the spring semester you spend in Geneva, Switzerland, under the directorship of Professor Gianluca Berci, who is a former legal counsel of the WHO and the director of the Graduate Institute in Geneva. Students who pursue the LL.M in Global Health Law and Governance not only spend spring semester in Geneva, Switzerland, but after completing their coursework, they undertake health law internships at agencies in Geneva, such as the World Trade Organization or the UN or the WHO. For students that prefer not to take an internship, you have the opportunity to write a dissertation, which will also be submitted as part of the requirements of the LL.M in Global Health Law and International Governance. So what can you expect if you study either of these two LL.M programs? You will graduate with a deep understanding of the intersections of health and law, a deep understanding of global health governance, health and human rights, food and drug law, and issues of healthcare access and regulation, to mention just a few. We're always constantly updating our curriculum because at Georgetown, we want to be at the cutting edge of whatever is happening in the health law space globally and nationally. And so, for example, this coming semester, in response to just the growing movement around decolonization, we've introduced a new course on decolonization, global health, and the law. With the increased interest that COVID-19 has brought to the area of global health security, we have also introduced a new course in global health security and the law. Other courses that are on offer out of the 40 that we have available are International Right to Health, which is taught by one of the former UN Special Rapporteurs on the right to health. We have courses on nutrition and policy, or on preventing, detecting, and responding to global threats. The idea is that when you study at the Georgetown Law and in our health law programs, you have this understanding both of the law and of policy, and you are able to operate effectively in both of these fields. So what are the academic requirements should you enroll in these two programs? So for the National and Global Health Law LL.M, foreign trained lawyers, those are international students who do not have a JD, are required to complete 20 credits for this particular program in order to graduate. 14 of those credits are health specialization credits, and you only have one mandatory course, which is the Global Health Law course. This is really a course that's designed to bring everybody together, all the cohort together, so you get an opportunity to mix with your peers and get to know each other. If you are a US trained lawyer, that is, you have a JD, you are required to complete 24 credits, so 16 specializations, and again, the mandatory global health law course. For the global health law and governance LLM, when you do your Georgetown portion, that's the fall semester, you are required to complete a total of 12 credits. So the mandatory course plus 8 specializations that you select out of the 40 courses that we have on offer for health law. Once you get to the Graduate Institute in Geneva, you are required to complete 24 specialization credits, and you can pick from the different courses that they have. I've just listed a few of what's on offer here, such as human rights through the concepts or treaty making in contemporary international society. One of the things that is also quite attractive about studying at Georgetown is the ability for you to take the New York bar exam. There are courses that our students sit for that make them eligible for the New York bar exam, and you can pursue those courses while you are taking your LLM because of the flexibility to take courses outside of health specialization. Many of the students who decide that they want to take the New York bar plan well ahead and come to campus earlier for the summer experience so that they can do a portion of the courses that are required for the New York bar before the fall semester starts, and then they lighten their load for other courses during the fall semester. So if this is something that's of interest to you, it's worth considering, coming a little bit earlier, enrolling in the summer experience before you start your LLM program. In addition, Georgetown offers faculty support to guide you through taking the New York bar and for you to figure out exactly, which courses you need to take and to make sure you keep track of your required credits. So at Georgetown and in the LLM in health law, we are concerned about not just your academics, not just the fact that you are doing well and taking courses that lead you on that path, but we're also concerned about career development. So I'm going to hand over to Andres Constantine, who will share a little bit about what we do to shape the whole person in this particular program.
Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Andres Constantine. I'm the Assistant Director of Health Law Programs and an Adjunct Professor of Law here at Georgetown. So can we go to the next slide, please? Yes. As I mentioned, we care a lot about our students' professional and career development opportunities. One of the things that we do is that we intentionally keep this cohort small, like usually around 25 or 30 students every year, so that we can provide personalized and tailored advice, career and professional advice to each of our students. Can we go to the next one, please? Yes. So I just want to share a few programs that we have launched recently to kind of pursue these goals of professional development and career development. The first one is a mentorship program. We launched this program last year, and essentially we match our current students with professionals and graduates from our program that are working in the field according to the students' interests. So the idea is that students can go to each of their mentors and have conversations with them and explore career opportunities, networking opportunities, and get that advice from former colleagues and former graduates from our program. The second thing that we do is we conduct and we host a lot of networking events. This year, we had a networking training workshop for our students, and then we hosted a speed networking event, I think it was 3 weeks ago, where we had the General Counsel from the Pan American Health Organization, representatives from the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights here in Washington, D.C., representatives from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and different NGOs working in the health law and policy space. Actually, next semester, we are organizing a similar speed networking event with law firms that specialize in life sciences and healthcare practices. And also with this semester, we also hosted a careers panel information session with the FDA here again in the US. Next slide, please. There we go. So at Georgetown Law, our students also have the opportunity to work with the O'Neill Institute to apply to work with the O'Neill Institute for National and Global Health Law. The O'Neill Institute is an institute that is housed at Georgetown University and specializes in health law and policy and how we can use the law to promote healthier lifestyles and environments. And the institute works around three main areas or three buckets. A scholarship is one of them, academic work, academic publications, reports, and journal articles. The second one is capacity building, and that's why we have these LL.M programs. We also have an internship program for law students and a fellowship program. And the third bucket is the research projects and technical assistance to governments, to local partners around the world. Can we go to the next one, please? So the Institute was created in 2007 through the generous philanthropy of Linda and Tim O'Neill, as I said, to respond to the need for innovative health solutions or solutions to the most pressing global health, national and global health concerns. We work, as I said, on research, academic publications, and capacity building. Next one, please. So one of the differentials of things that our students can do is they can, as I said, apply to work with the O'Neill Institute over the academic year, and they can work as research assistants with different initiatives of the institute. And here you see some of those initiatives. One is the health and human rights, addiction and public policy. We have different centers. The global health policy and politics, for instance, that focuses mostly on kind of global health governance concerns, the health policy and the law, and focuses more on kind of the domestic side of health law and policy. And our students get to kind of complement what they study in the classroom with practical experience working with initiative directors, associates, and fellows at the O'Neill Institute. And also that also provides kind of another way to kind of get into the market after they graduate. Next slide, please. At the Institute, we have some of the leading voices in this field. One is, of course, Professor Lawrence Costin, who is our faculty director. This year, we welcome Dr. Tlaleng Mafokeng as a distinguished lecturer. Dr. Tlaleng Mafokeng is the current UN Special Rapporteur on the Right to Health, and she's going to be teaching the decolonization, global health, and the law seminar next semester. We also have, for instance, Professor Anand Grover from India. He's the former UN Special Rapporteur on the Right to Health, and Danish Puras as well as senior scholars, and they both teach regularly in our program. Next slide, please. I just want to touch a bit on kind of career prospects, careers in health law after our students graduate. Next slide, please. Thank you. So usually our foreign trained lawyers and US trained lawyers have high post-graduation employment rates at roughly 80% of our students get a job after they graduate in the 3 months after they graduate. And in the last 3 years, our alumni have been employed at the WHO, the World Health Organization, the Pan American Health Organization, the US Department of Health and Human Services, different law firms, academic institutions, pharmaceutical companies, or NGOs working in this space. As I mentioned, we put a lot of effort into our students' career development, and we make sure that we support them in any way we can, providing guidance on how to network, providing connections to professionals working in this space, and also hosting these speed networking events or other type of information sessions so that our students can have the opportunity to meet prospective employers. Next slide. Just highlighting a few of our alumni here. Kathy Schatz, she's a legal specialist with UNICEF. At the moment, she's working on childhood obesity, mostly on how we can use the law to fight against childhood obesity. Rikin Mehta, he was for many years the head of the US regulatory policy at Pfizer, and he was involved in some of the initial discussions around the vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine. Maria Hurua Kizumbia, she's the senior advisor policy and government relations at Humanity United, a think tank here in DC, and with also offices in other parts of the US. Takuya Watanabe, he actually graduated with me from this program. I'm a graduate from the LL.M program as well, and he's working as a compliance manager with Johnson & Johnson. I think with that, I conclude. But again, as mentioned in the webinar chat, feel free to share any questions for the Q&A portion, and you can submit those questions in the Q&A box below. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Constantine. Before I hand over to our students, current students who are enrolled, to give you a sense of what it's like to be here at Georgetown and to be enrolled in the LL.M programs, I just want to encourage you to please let us know in the chat where you heard about the webinar. Just type into the chat box where you're from and where you heard about the webinar. From. So I'll hand over to Luis first to share his own experience as a student, and then I will hand over after that to Alia to share her experience. Go ahead, Luis.
Thank you, Professor Boscia. So I'll talk first a little bit about myself. I received my law degree from the Dominican Republic over 10 years ago. So I am a mid-career student, and I spent most of my career so far working with intellectual property law and policy. And in particular, I have been working with patents and access to medicines. So I decided to do the LL.M now because I wanted to expand my field of expertise to other health law issues beyond intellectual property. Because as a foreign trained lawyer, focusing on intellectual property and living in the United States can be a bit narrow for the purpose of job opportunities. And second, I also wanted to expose myself to an academic environment in the United States to explore whether academic research and teaching was something that I would want to explore as a career opportunity in the future. And it was because of that second element that coming to the LL.M at Georgetown Law was really the top priority for me. Because one thing that students will learn immediately after they come here is how closely related we are with the O'Neill Institute. I am currently at the O'Neill Institute right now. And essentially, some of us will work as a research assistant at the O'Neill Institute during the experience. But even if you don't work as an RA during the LL.M, you will still be part of the O'Neill Institute family. You will have daily access to an amazing group of fellows and professors that will open the door for you and will make you feel like one of their peers. And these are really the top experts in their field, and not just in the United States, but globally. Another thing that people will notice if they come here is that the community is global, and every region in the world is well represented among the students, but also among the staff. I'll talk briefly about the courses that I took this semester, because I'm really impressed about the richness and the diversity of the health law program here at Georgetown. This semester, I wanted to focus on pandemic prevention and response. So I took a course named Pandemic with Professor Lauren Gosting and Alexandra Finch. And I really don't think that there's any other course in the United States that provides a similar experience. It is an entire semester talking about pandemics and the law and the governance of pandemics. There are a number of other examples like that in the program. Professor Boscia just mentioned her course about decolonizing global health. Again, something that I think is very unique to Georgetown Law. Another thing that's very impressive in my experience so far is how many events Professor Constantine and Boscia organized for the students. Andy mentioned some of those events in his presentation. And I will summarize by saying that there's really never a boring week at Georgetown Law. There is a lot of things going on, whether it's for networking or hiking with a professor or going into a dinner with some of our peers. And these are things that are organized by the university. And it's really impressive how much effort they put into that. I'll conclude with this. I know my time is almost up. There has never been a more important time in history to study global health law and governance. We're still not done with COVID. We're not done with monkeypox. And because of things like climate change, there's going to be more global health challenges like that in the future. So if you're thinking of doing an LL.M, do it on health law. The challenges in this field are really huge, and the professional opportunities are many, and they are growing. And we need bright minds like yours to come into this field. And if you're thinking of doing an LLM in global health law, come to Georgetown. There's simply no other school in the country, maybe in the world, that can replicate the curriculum that Georgetown has, and there's simply no other community in any other law school that is similar to the O'Neill Institute community. So I highly recommend you to join this program.
Thank you, Louise, for that insight. I'll hand over now to Aliyah to talk a little bit about her own experience.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So my name is Aliyah Chase. I'm actually a US trained JD. I did law school in New York, and I just recently graduated in May and went straight to the LL.M program. So I'm from New York. I did take the New York bar over the summer. And for me, deciding to do the LL.M straight out of law school, especially for a health law LL.M, I thought it as a good opportunity to focus on the bar the summer before, and while waiting for my bar results, and then subsequently waiting to be admitted to the bar, which ultimately takes a good couple of months, I thought what not better to do than actually pursue an LL.M. I know that the common consensus or the common idea about pursuing an LL.M in the US for a lot of American attorneys is that you really only need to do it if you are pursuing tax. And I think that's such a misconception. I knew from the get-go that I wanted to go into international law, and slowly throughout my experiences in law school, I became very interested in health law. I didn't know necessarily to what extent I wanted to pursue health law, whether I wanted to do healthcare litigation, whether I wanted to branch out and do kind of WHO, more public policy, health-related work. And so doing the LL.M was definitely something that would help me figure that out and help me figure it out early. One of the biggest benefits, I would say, for US attorneys who know they're interested in the international field and they're also interested in health law, of pursuing an LL.M, I think, is the fact that you are able to access job opportunities that you wouldn't otherwise be able to access without the LL.M. Had you not already completed maybe 15 to 20 years of amazing work experience that kind of puts you at the point where you're just coming out of 1 year of your LL.M will put you. And I know that this is probably something you hear a lot, but I've actually lived this within my first 3 months of starting at Georgetown. I had an offer from a law firm that I really loved. I worked for as a summer associate in New York. I thought this was the end all be all. I would graduate and that's where I would start. I would do tort litigation, and that's going to be how I fulfilled my health law dreams. That would have been a great opportunity on its own, but by coming to Georgetown, I've been able to interface through a lot of the career networking opportunities, even choosing certain classes to network with professors and peers, to interface with people who are directors of health, secretaries of health within their own countries, even within the United States, directors at the FDA, who really kind of increased my perspective on the area of health law and changed drastically what I decided that I wanted to do. And the job offers that you get are job offers that I think that I would only assume I would have gotten had I put 5 years into a firm really seriously. So that's kind of my spiel on why pursuing a health law LL.M is super important for US trained attorneys, especially those who want to develop their career early on.
Thank you, Aliyah. So now that you've heard about the program, you've heard about the opportunities that we offer you to develop your career, I'm going to hand over to the Assistant Dean for Graduate Admissions, Karen Valand, who will share a little bit more about how to apply. Karen, over to you.
Oops. All right. Hi, everyone. And thank you to all the presenters, especially our students who were in the same position previously that you are now, those of you who have joined this morning and are thinking about doing an LL.M program. And I think that our current students are great resources for explaining their thought process in deciding to do an LL.M and how they see the LL.M already having an impact on their future careers. So I hope some of you are inspired by that and will consider doing an LLM very soon, if not this year, then sometime in the future. So right now we are in the process of accepting applications for fall 2023. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our application process. And if it's not something you're planning to do this year for fall 2023, you can expect the application process to be pretty similar when you do decide to apply in the future. So the first thing I would note, and somebody had asked this in the Q&A, is whether you need to be a practicing lawyer in order to apply for the program. So as Aaliyah just said, she came directly after her first degree in law, and the main basic requirement is that you have completed your first degree in law, either a JD in the United States or the equivalent from any other country around the world, so that you have completed all the educational requirements necessary for the practice of law in your jurisdiction. We don't require work experience as a prerequisite for admission to the program. However, if you are applying to a specialized program like our Global National and Global Health Law or Global Health Law and Governance, we do expect to see some indication in your application of why you are really interested in this area and what exposure you've had up to this point to issues of health law. So keep that in mind, and I'll talk a little bit more about that when I get to talking about the personal statement. Here at Georgetown, we have a rolling admissions process, which means that we open up our application in October each fall, and we keep the application open into the springtime, and we fill the seats of the program as we go along. So especially for a program like our health law programs, as Andy mentioned, we try to keep the class size somewhat small. That's part of the experience. So the sooner you apply, the more seats are available at that time, as we do fill them up over time. So we encourage you to apply as early in the process as you are able to. Our recommended deadline is February 3rd, 2023 for fall 2023. And especially as it goes for scholarship consideration, which I'll also talk about shortly, it's important to get things in by that date, even though we will continue to accept applications after that February 3rd deadline has passed until the point where the class is full. The basic requirements and materials that you need to submit with your application include, of course, just the basic application form. And we do work with the LSAC, Law School Admissions Council, lsac.org. If you create an account on their website, you can fill out the application forms online, especially if you are applying to more than one LLM program. It allows you to fill that stuff out once, send your materials through LSAC, and they will then distribute them to the places where you are applying. If you're just applying to Georgetown, we do have a paper application on our website that you can download and fill out and submit to us by mail or email if you want to avoid the application for account fees associated with the LSAC. So with your application form, we do require you to send in copies, official copies from your university of your law degree, your undergraduate and any other graduate education that you might have. Those should be sent directly to either LSAC or us from your university. We also, if those transcripts are not originally in English, we need an official English translation, either from the university or from a certified translator. We also ask you to submit a copy of your CV or resume along with your application, and we don't require you to keep it to one page, which is a typical requirement for US job applications. Resumes are often kept to one page, but for purposes of our application, it's okay with us if it goes over one page. We ask you to submit 2 letters of recommendation. Those could be either from professors who have taught you in your law studies or from supervisors, people that you have worked for after you've graduated from law school. We don't have a requirement that we have at least one from a professor and one from a work recommender. It's up to you, but pick somebody or pick your recommenders as people that have worked closely enough with you that they can speak or write about your skills as a student, as a lawyer, possibly and preferably your interest in health law. So those are the most important factors we will look for from your recommendations. It's more important that someone who knows you well than it be somebody that's like in a high position in your university or your government or at your law firm. So more important that they know you well. If English is not your native language, we do ask you to submit a TOEFL or an IELTS score that has to be less than 2 years old. And for the TOEFL score, we look for a minimum of 100 points on the TOEFL. For IELTS, we look for a 7.5 score overall. And then we also ask you to submit a personal statement. And I think oftentimes people are most worried about that. It's the most challenging part of the application because it's up to you to decide what to write about and how to write about it. But generally, we are looking in that personal statement for it to be about 2-3 pages long, double spaced, and for it to tell us why you want to do the LL.M. And for specialized programs like these, you know, why do you want to focus on health law? Also, as you know, we do have 2 different programs. We have our National and Global Health Law LL.M. We also have our Global Health Law and Governance, the joint degree with the Graduate Institute in Geneva. So be careful when you are filling out the application that you choose the correct one and that you let us know that you understand which of those 2 you're applying to. That can help the admissions committee very much in reviewing your application. We do have part-time options. I think I would ask either Sarah or Andy to comment in the chat whether it's possible to do the Geneva program part-time because you need to spend a semester in Geneva. But I know that for National and Global Health Law, we do have a part-time option as well as studying full-time. Full-time would be 2 full-time semesters to complete the program, and part-time usually takes students 2 to 3 years to do. And so, yes, I think that covers the pieces of the application: the form, the transcripts, your resume, letters of recommendation, personal statement, and your English test scores. So, yes, and Sarah has confirmed for me that the Geneva program is only available on a full-time basis. So let's see, I'm just going to quickly check to see if we have any questions related to admissions. And someone has asked about studying for both an LL.M. and a JD degree. How long would that take? So a JD program is a 3-year degree. The LL.M. is a 1-year program. If you come to Georgetown for a JD, you do have the option of applying to the Global Health as a joint JD LL.M. So then you would earn the LL.M. in just 1 additional semester at the end of the JD after you complete the JD program. We ask you to just apply for 1 program at a time. So if you're not sure about whether you prefer Global Health Law and Governance or National and Global Health Law, we would ask you to maybe set up a time to talk with either Andy or Sarah about your goals and what you expect to get out of the program, and decide which of those programs is better for you, because it's we need you to choose that at the time of the application. Let's see, any other questions here? So the application opens in October. As I mentioned, we keep it open throughout the spring semester until the program is full, and then classes start in the fall. usually the last week of August is the first week of classes. There's an orientation week before that, and also for international students, an optional 6-week summer program that can help introduce you to the basics of the US legal system. Okay, I'm gonna switch now to talking about financing and scholarships. So I think everyone knows that studying law in the United States is quite expensive, and the LL.M tuition is approximately $74,000 for the year, with living expenses on top of that estimated to be around $30,000 for the 1-year program. So that's something definitely you need to plan ahead for if you decide to apply to an LL.M program. We do offer some scholarship opportunities for students in the Global Health Law program. You can apply for those scholarships at the same time that you submit your application. We ask you to submit an extra essay explaining some issues of national and global health law that are of interest to you. And then the scholarship decisions are made after the admissions decision. So if you are admitted to the program, you will receive a letter congratulating you on your admissions. Your scholarship information will not be included at that time. It will come later. So don't worry if you are admitted and don't hear anything about scholarship opportunities. Those global health scholarships range in size. They are typically partial tuition scholarships, occasionally can be full tuition scholarships. If you are a US citizen or permanent resident, you also can apply for loans through our financial aid office. And if you're a part-time student, you can apply for loans as long as you're enrolled at least half-time each semester, which is 4 credits per semester. There are also some outside scholarships you might think of. If you're from outside the United States, you might want to look into Fulbright to see whether Fulbright in your country offers the option of LL.Ms as one of the kinds of degrees that they fund. We also have some other scholarships that you can check on our website, our Georgetown Law website, that may be available to you depending on perhaps what country you studied in or things like that. So take a look at our admissions office website and go to the section on scholarships and fellowships. We have a question about the TOEFL or IELTS, if the mode of English of study has always been in English. So you can request a waiver of the TOEFL or IELTS requirement by emailing the admissions office, and in a little bit I'll put up our email address. But if you come from a country where your one of the official languages is English, and you've done most of your studies or all of your studies in English, you can request to have the TOEFL requirement waived. Somebody had asked earlier about the payments of tuition and when a student would need to make those payments. So we have various ways that students pay their tuition. Usually the full first semester tuition is due before the start of the fall semester, and the second semester's full tuition is due at the beginning of the second semester, but we do have payment plan options where you can split the payments up into a few installments over the course of the semester. So hopefully that answers that question. The TOEFL or IELTS scores, somebody has asked about the period, how long. We will accept them if they're no more than 2 years old. So you can send that to us. Check in the Q&A, and I think I've covered most of those questions that were for me in there. So in addition to what I've said so far, application requirements and financing, I would just say to highlight, what has been set up to this point by everyone else. This is a really exciting program with lots of opportunities in different directions that people can go. So we hope that you are considering applying, and we'll be happy to answer any other questions you have, either about the program or admissions.
Thank you for that, Karen. And just to reiterate, if people have any additional questions, feel free to drop those in the chat. I think there was one question that was raised about whether or not they're fully funded scholarships available for both health law programs. There are limited scholarships for the Geneva program, obviously, because that's, you know, something that we do jointly. We do have more control over the scholarships available for the National and Global Health Law program, the one that's DC based. So I would say that's a quick response to that question. Karen, there's another question here that I think is more for you. When is one expected to pay the tuition fees when admitted? And
Okay.
are all the fees paid at one go?
Yeah, I did answer that.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, but in addition to the, you know, the fall tuition fees and the payment options that I mentioned, I forgot to say there is a deposit. We ask you to make a $900 deposit to hold your seat by May 1st.
Okay. All right, so if there are no more questions from everyone, I want to thank you all for joining us. Just to echo Karen, we look forward to receiving your applications. We look forward to you, you know, coming to Georgetown and hopefully welcoming you in person in the fall of 2023. Please don't hesitate to send an email if there are any follow-up questions. If I can't answer the question, I'll certainly direct you to Karen or someone else that can answer the question. But I'm happy to have discussions. My colleagues and I were happy to talk with you to help you understand the programs even more and guide you as you do your application. So thank you, everyone.
I see a couple of questions here in the Q&A. One is about whether graduates with the Global Health Law and Governance LLM can be employed with UNEP, and assuming I want to work there, will I need to do some courses in addition to the normal LLM program?
You are able to take some courses that are outside of the health law program, so you could figure out maybe which courses maybe focus a bit more on environment that you might be able to do. As to whether or not you would be employed by UNEP, I think that that's something that may be a little bit difficult to answer. It depends on how well you sell yourself. But there are courses that you can take outside of the health law concentration that might maybe set you up a little bit more for working for an agency like that.
Great. And then somebody has asked whether they can get admitted even if their English score is lower than the minimum requirement. So we don't automatically reject students who don't meet the minimum requirement, but we do take that requirement seriously because law is a very language intensive subject, and we want to make sure people are able to handle all of the interaction that will be expected of you during the program. We have a 2-year LLM program, which is specifically designed for students who may need more time to get acclimated to working in an English-speaking environment. So that's something to consider if you're really interested in further developing your English skills. The first year of the program is focused heavily on developing your English in a legal context. And then during the second year, you would be able to complete the requirements of the LLM program. So if you're interested in that, you apply directly to our 2-year LLM program, and we'd ask you to mention in your personal statement that you want to do the global health program during your second year so that we can make sure it's a good fit. So somebody has asked whether they need to pay the first installment of tuition before starting the program. The answer to that is yes. It is we know that it is expensive, but it's really important that you plan ahead for that. We don't have the ability to help people financially once they've already gotten here to the country, you know, beyond whatever scholarship you've already been awarded as part of your admissions process. And so it is important to plan ahead, make sure that you are able to make those payments. And Andy, did you have something you want to add about that?
No. I think that was
okay. It said something in the Q&A box there.
Someone asked, how about the difference in legal systems? If you could clarify your question just a little bit more. But Karen, you look like you're nodding, so please go ahead.
Okay, no, I agree to have a clarification would be helpful.
Okay, so we'll wait for just a few more minutes to see if there are any more last minute questions that people have, a minute or two. So going once, going twice. Okay, thank you everybody for attending. This recording will be up on the website. Karen, can you clarify where the students would be able to find this if they wanted to go back and sort of listen to everything again?
Sure, yes. So on the graduate admissions page, we have our information session calendar, and it will be under the past events on that calendar. And it may take a couple of days before we can post that recording.
All right, thank you everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.